Valuation is a bit of an issue. I've been forecasting 5,400 for the S&P 500 by year end. My concern is we might get there by mid-year or earlier. I'm forecasting 6,000 for next year, and I'm concerned we might get there by year end. So I'd like to have a nice leisurely bull market here, not something like we had in the late
Yeah.
1990s.
A guy at Yale, where you got your parchment, I think his name was Schiller, used to talk a lot
Yep.
about exuberance that was out there. What is the character of our exuberance within the
Right.
Yardeni and Campora bull market?
Well, I think we can look back to the 1990s as a possible model for the environment we're in. If that's the case, then the next question is, are we in 1999 or are we in something somewhat earlier? I think at this point, we're more like 1996. Remember December 5th, 1996, when Alan Greenspan had that famous speech in which he did a Hamlet on us, and he said, how do we know if the market's irrationally exuberant? And I think we're at that point now where everybody seems to be asking, is it rational exuberance or irrational exuberance?
So, Ed, when you look at the elements within the market, what looks most rational? What looks most irrational?
Well, the valuation multiple on anything related to artificial intelligence certainly is very high. The so-called Magnificent Seven, their multiple has been very high. They're becoming more rational, actually, because some of the Magnificent Seven aren't so magnificent anymore. We've seen Apple underperform. We've seen Tesla underperform. So it's a healthy thing to see that the market isn't just willy-nilly going across the board and marking up these mega stocks, these Magnificent Seven. I think clearly outside of the stock market, Bitcoin has had a heck of a move. I think it's having a heck of a move down this morning, but there's certainly
Right.
signs of speculative excesses.
Ed Yardeni is an edge of fossil like me. Do you believe that there's an underlying under Bitcoin? Is it an actual tangible investment?
Well, this will probably get a lot of people mad at me, but I mean well, and that is I view I view Bitcoin as digital tulips. In other words, it is kind of like what happened in Holland with the bubble in tulips, but there's a huge difference here, which really presents the possibility of much higher upside, which we've already seen, and that is the notion that it's a global market and it's open 24/7. And we're talking about tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people playing in the Bitcoin marketplace. So
Yeah.
I have no idea how high it could go. I have no idea how low it can go. I'm an old-fashioned guy like you are. I need earnings. I need coupons. I need something I can value. I need rents, something I can value, and I don't have that with Bitcoin.
Digital tulips that have a structure of a investment tool underneath them with all those ETFs, right? And also a digital tool, a digital tulip that is going to also have, what's the verb for having? To have?
I don't know. You went to the fancy school.
H-A-L-F.
Scarlet, Greifeld was on yesterday, and we're talking polka dot and Doge. And I'm trying to have a serious conversation with Miss Haverford about polka dot and Doge.
Yeah.
This is nuts.
This is
Continue.
nuts. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Ed, let me go back to Bitcoin, because there are a lot of things, a lot of market structures to support this digital coin right now.
Sure.
When we see the
Absolutely.
halving in April, do you anticipate any kind of correlation with what we see in equities? Because a lot of that bullish sentiment tied to Bitcoin has spilled over into equities or vice versa.
Well, I think you're right. And I think where Bitcoin's enthusiasm has spilled over is clearly into gold. I mean, gold was kind of sitting there doing nothing. And then all of a sudden, maybe
Right.
some of the Bitcoin enthusiasts concluded that they haven't owned enough of it and it's too expensive, and they want to look for other areas to diversify. So gold has been a winner, though gold mining shares
Right.
haven't done as well. But look, I have to admit, I've got some FOMO every now and then when I see this Bitcoin going up to 70,000. I
Right.
said, man, I knew about it at $1, at $10. I knew about it at 100, at 1,000. Why didn't I just
Right.
buy a couple?
And you have huge response on YouTube this morning worldwide. People are listening to Edward Yardeni. I want to go to the x-axis, the theta, whether it's just a normal x-axis or dare I say we go logarithmic. You've had the courage to go out to SPX 6000, and I think you've put a 25 handle on it. Why can't Ed Yardeni model out to 2026?
Oh, actually, I have already. I'm glad you asked me because just recently we're talking about 6,500. In terms of earnings, the underlying earnings, last year we said 225, and there were a lot of people who were using 180 for earnings per share for the S&P 500. And we came awfully close. $222 is what the S&P 500 earned last year. This year, we also have bullish outlook for earnings, 250. And then the year after that, in other words, 2025, we're talking about 270 and then $300 a share for 226. And we think that will accommodate 6,500 on the S&P 500 by 2026.